that Jesus delights in your boldness, Trey? Morning.
My name is Trey Pearson. I grew up just outside of Columbus, Ohio. I signed a record deal with my Christian rock band after my freshman year of college, and I toured all around the world with my band for many years. We had, we did all right. We had 20 top 10 Billboard hits and 5 number 1 U.S. Billboard singles, and I grew up in a very loving family in a small town called West Jefferson, and my grandparents lived in this town, my aunt and uncle lived in this town, my cousins. We did everything together. I grew up in a small, conservative, loving Bible church that taught me that God loved me from a very young age. But as I got older, as I started learning about God and the Bible and our faith in this kind of more conservative tradition, evangelical tradition, I was taught that that God hated homosexuality, that it was an abomination to be gay. I also was growing up during the AIDS pandemic, and when I was, I guess, 11, I found out that my uncle, my cousin who was my best friend, his dad, my mom's brother, found out that he was HIV positive, and within a year he died during the AIDS pandemic. And so ever since I can remember from a very young age, I remember praying nightly as a kid, please God, don't let me be gay. Please God, don't let me be gay. Because I was so scared God would be angry with me and that God would see me as an abomination and that I would burn forever in hell. And those are the things I was taught. And why would anyone want to be hated by God, right? And I grew up loving God, loving my faith, and trying to understand this part of me. And so I became this sort of obsessed with trying to understand what God's plan for me was. And so I read the Bible, all the time as a kid. I read the Bible front to back. As a teenager, 6 times. I memorized the book of James. I was in Bible Bowl. We had buzzers. So obviously I was very cool. I so desperately wanted to understand who God wanted me to be. As a kid, I fell in love with the story of David and Jonathan because it talked about, in the Hebrew scriptures in the Old Testament, it talked about after David slays Goliath, which everyone knows that story, but if you just look a few verses after that, it talks about David moving in with the king and becoming one in spirit with his son and loving each other as themselves. And David goes on later to say that Jonathan's love was greater than that of women. And I felt like, oh, so maybe I can find relationships like that and I won't have to be gay and God won't hate me. And so I think, from a young teenager or young adolescent, I was always looking for those male friendships. And I thought, well, if I can just find that, then I won't have to be gay. And, as adolescence kicks in, you know what you're attracted to and you feel shame. And you've been taught that those feelings are from the devil and that's just Satan tempting you. And so I, living decades of my life trying to not be this thing, so scared, and being brainwashed as a young kid to believe that God would hate me if I was that thing. I had a couple girlfriends growing up. My first one in 8th grade, she broke up with me because I wouldn't kiss her. She'd always, I'll tell that another day. I had great friends that were girls. As I started touring around the world with my band, I would go back to my home church, and I was home one time over Christmas, and there was this girl home from college, and we were with a bunch of people hanging out one night, and I just thought, man, she's awesome. I need to meet a girl like her. And I thought, well, could I? And message to anyone wondering, just because a gay guy has a girl best friend doesn't mean they should get married. But I did not understand that. I was so brainwashed to believe that, I also grew up in purity culture and true love waits. And so I thought, I've never had those attractions to girls, but if I trust God, if I follow God, then if we get married, everything will just magically work. And so I had never made out with a girl. I'd never done anything. And I put all my faith into what I had been taught and what I had been brainwashed to believe as a kid, and put all my faith into believing, if I trust God with this, then when we get married, it'll just all magically happen. And so this girl, we dated for a year, and I thought, she's awesome. I could see myself raising a family with her. And so we got married. I asked her to marry me. And that first night, that first week, I started to realize, oh, shoot, it's not all just going to magically work. And fear, being scared, not knowing what to do, and just thinking, maybe it's because I've thought about guys so much my whole life, and I just need to recondition my brain now that I'm with a girl. And then all of a sudden I find myself weeks and months and years into this marriage, and all of a sudden 2 very beautiful kids. And I'm still hoping, praying, fingers crossed, everything would magically work. The same things that I was the first week of my wedding. During this time traveling the world, I've been to all 50 states. I've been to 20-some countries now. And you start seeing different people believe different things, different ways. And I remember for the first time, and are any of you familiar with Rob Bell? I fell in love with Rob Bell's books, and long story short, he became a friend and mentor of mine. And I remember the first time thinking, number one, maybe my Uncle Jeff was just gay. Number two, I thought, maybe God isn't angry at people for the way God made them. And I really started deconstructing all those things that I had been taught growing up, and starting to look at it in new ways, and being given the ability to see things in new ways. And so over 7 years into my marriage, for the first time in my life, my wife asked me in a very serious way, she said, "Are you gay?" And I'd never been able to admit it out loud to anyone before, let alone myself. But I was at this point where I was like, I didn't think it was a sin anymore, but it just never felt like an option for me because I committed my life to this person. Everything's racing through my mind. If I say no, this is going to make things that are already tough even worse. But how can I say yes? I don't know. And so all I knew how to say in that moment was, I don't know, but I think I need to get help. And so I did. I reached out to a pastor friend of mine who I had met at this festival called Wild Goose Festival, and it's where I met the first gay pastor I had ever met in my life. And I started telling him everything I'd felt since I was a kid about that desire for those Jonathan and David sort of friendships, and all my failures and intimacy, and my Uncle Jeff dying of AIDS, and he was married and had 2 kids, and all of a sudden I found myself married and have 2 kids, and I'm dealing with this thing. And for the first time in my life, after talking to him for a little over an hour, I said, I think I might be gay. And I just started sobbing because I'm 35 years old, and I'd never said that out loud before. I'd never admitted that to anyone, let alone myself. And so this thing that I've been pushing down my entire life, to finally open up for the first time in my life and admit that to myself, let alone someone else. I just bawled and bawled and bawled. And so slowly I came out to myself and my wife and my family, and I started slowly coming out to friends. And I know this will be shocking to you all, but not our church, but I'm sure other churches. Gossip can sometimes kind of spread quick. And And when you've toured all around the world in thousands of churches and faith spaces, people started hearing different things. And I thought, well, you know what? I want to come out on my own terms. And I had a few things that really motivated me. One, I wanted to do it in a way that one day, at the time, my kids were 6 and 2. I wanted to do it in a way that hopefully when they got older that they would be proud of me. I wanted to do it on my own terms so other people weren't the ones telling my story for me. And I wanted to do it in a way that could help kids like me, because, you know, I know Christian rock stars to this day, people in Christian music that are still closeted. And I know some of them, if they would have come out when I was a kid, how much that could have changed my life. And so I thought, well, if I can use my story to help anyone else, I want to do that. And so I decided to come out publicly, and I did that on May 31st of 2016. And I knew people would talk about it. I didn't know how talked about it would be. It came out, and by that afternoon, it's like trending worldwide on Facebook and Twitter, and which was weird, a weird thing to have happen. And then by that night, it was the #1 trending topic in the world on Facebook and Twitter. And it's very weird. Back then, Facebook used to show you what the top trending things were worldwide or in the U.S. or whatever. And somehow, like #2 was Taylor Swift and Calvin Harris breaking up. Yes, I have a screenshot of it because, I mean, come on. But #1 somehow is my name, Trey, Pearson, Christian rock star, comes out as gay. And I just thought, wow. And you know, I was not like Amy Grant or Michael W. Smith or DC Talk or something. I was in this Christian rock band. And I don't think it was weird that the most talked about moment of my entire career had nothing to do with my music, but about me deciding to be vulnerable, to tell my truth and my story. And to know that there are countless other people, countless LGBTQ people growing up in churches still in evangelical fundamentalist spaces that tell them that there's something wrong with them, that they're broken. People taking their lives because they think they aren't loved by God. People's lives destroyed. You know, I've been through a lot. But I look at my life now, and I look at my 2 beautiful children sitting there with my husband, and I just think, man, I am the luckiest person in the entire universe. But I would never wish what I went through as a kid on anyone else. And I am so thankful to get to do the work that I do now. And so to be in a church that has been so kind and beautiful to me, to welcome us with open arms and to allow us to be a part of this church family. I was listening to that choir sing earlier, and I just thought, what is this? What are we doing here? It's hope. Like, we're on a ball spinning in space, and none of us know what's going on, and somehow we get to experience this beautiful, beautiful thing called life. And we come here to just take a minute to think about those more deep, profound things. And that I get to do that with my husband and my kids, with you all, is such a beautiful, wonderful honor. And with your kids, and for you all to entrust that to me. I'm so grateful. For many years, I hoped and prayed that my parents would come around. My father never did. 2 years ago, he had a heart attack at the wheel and passed away. And my mom was in the car and almost lost her life as well. But now my mom is in our lives and in the kids' lives, and she's trying really hard. And one day soon, you guys are going to meet her here, and I look forward to that. But I wrote this song shortly after I came out, and it just encapsulates all the feelings I ever felt growing up. This song's called Hey Jesus. Hey Jesus, can you hear me now? It's been a while since I came out. I was wondering, do you love me the same? You see, I've loved you since I was young, tried to be the greatest son. Now I'm wondering, could they love me the same? 'Cause I know that I could never change. I tried so hard, but so much pain, and I just want to be loved for who I am. I know that I could never change. I tried so hard, but so much pain, and I just want to be loved for who I am. I just want to be loved for who I am. Hey Jesus, can you hear me out? I just want love like everyone else. I was wondering, since you made me this way, do you want me to fall in love, to know what it's like to love someone else in the most intimate way? 'Cause I know that I could never change. I tried so hard, but so much pain, and I just want to be loved for who I am. I know that I could never change. I tried so hard, but so much pain, and I just want to be loved for who I am. I just want to be loved for who I am. Can y'all sing that with me? And I wanna know, have you ever seen the rain? And I wanna know, have you ever seen the rain coming down on a sunny day? And I wanna know, have you ever seen the rain? I wanna know, have you ever seen the rain coming down on a sunny day? Hey Jesus, can you hear me out? I just want love like everyone else. I was wondering, could you love me the same?
how do we follow up on that?